Well, we've been hearing it and reading it for months now. U.S. President Donald Trump repeatedly saying Canada should become the 51st state, and that's put some Canadians on edge.
A lot of people in Canada are liking becoming our beautiful, cherished 51st state. They'll have to pay much lower taxes. They'll have the ultimate security.
People usually think America is the big, strong neighbor watching out for Canada, a country with a massive population, the largest economy, and the biggest military in the world. But geography works differently. It doesn't care about armies or money. What geography cares about is location, resources, and natural barriers. Things that give Canada some serious control over America's fate. Let's begin with energy, the most critical resource for any modern country. And Canada supplies a huge chunk of it to America. Canada provides about 1/5, 20% of all the electricity the United States uses. That is a massive amount, enough to power the entire state of California, home to 40 million people. Most of this electricity comes from hydroelectric dams. These are big plants that turn the power of fast-flowing rivers and lakes into electricity without pollution. These dams are mainly found in two Canadian provinces, Quebec and British Columbia. And here's the key fact. The electricity flows south, across the border, through just a handful of transmission lines. These lines are like lifelines. They are the only paths electricity can take to reach millions of American homes and businesses. If Canada decided to cut off the power, or even just flicked a few switches, millions of people in the U.S. Northeast could face blackouts. It would be chaos in cities that depend on that steady flow of electricity. But energy isn't just about electricity. Canada is the United States' largest supplier of oil. On a daily basis, about 4 million barrels of Canadian oil flow south through pipelines running from Alberta all the way to refineries in Texas, Illinois, and Oklahoma. One pipeline system called Enbridge carries a large share of this oil. If for any reason this pipeline was blocked or shut down, gas prices in America would soar overnight, likely doubling or more, and the economy could come to a grinding halt. What makes this so critical is geography itself. Over half of Canada is covered by the Canadian Shield, a huge granite area that acts like a giant natural barrier. This barrier funnels energy, oil, electricity, gas, to only one place, the southern border with the United States. This natural funnel means Canada's energy infrastructure is purposely designed to supply America. It gives Canada incredible leverage because America relies heavily on that supply. Water is essential to life, and Canada is by far the biggest holder of fresh water in the world. It holds about 20% of the planet's fresh water, more than any other country. One of the most crucial water systems for the U.S. is the Great Lakes. These lakes provide clean drinking water to nearly 40 million Americans. Lake Superior, Huron, and Erie, all some of the largest freshwater lakes on Earth, are connected with Canadian land. The rivers flowing between these lakes, like the Niagara and Detroit rivers, also run alongside the Canadian border. But water here is more than just for drinking. This water powers hydroelectric dams that supply electricity to millions of American cities. Water is a hidden force powering America's industrial heartland. If Canada ever chose to control or restrict this water flow, whether by cutting off water or changing how much flows into the Great Lakes, it could create the biggest water crisis in American history. Steel plants, factories, cities, and millions of people would be hit hard. River shipping routes for goods like iron ore also rely on these waterways. America's economy depends on this water, but it doesn't have control over it. And why can't America simply take control? Because Canada and the U.S. share the longest undefended border in the world, 5,500 miles long. Much of this border passes through thick forests, mountains, and rugged wilderness that would be nearly impossible to invade or patrol effectively. This means American industries and homes rely on a resource controlled by a country they cannot easily influence or force.
We're talking about a quarter of the world's oil plus 30% of natural gas, large quantities of minerals, all believed to be under the Arctic. We're also talking about trade routes, with Arctic ice vanishing at 13% per decade. The Northwest Passage is creating disputes. Canada and the US, for example, are arguing over whether it's an international waterway or sovereign Canadian water.
The Arctic has mostly been remote and frozen, but that is changing fast. Due to climate change, Arctic ice is melting, making new shipping lanes accessible that were once impassable for much of the year. One of the most important is the Northwest Passage, a sea route running through Canadian Arctic waters that connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. This route can dramatically cut shipping times from Asia to Europe. This shipping lane lies entirely inside Canada's territorial waters, which gives Canada control over a potential new global trade highway. In the future, Canada could regulate or even block access to this shipping route, controlling a major part of global trade happening right in North America's backyard. The Arctic also hides vast natural riches. About 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and 30% of its natural gas reserves lie under its waters. Most of these resources can only be accessed by land routes through Canada, giving Canada exclusive access to one of the biggest untapped energy supplies on Earth. The Arctic is becoming a global hotspot for power struggles. Russia is building military bases, and China is investing billions to develop new shipping routes and Arctic infrastructure. In this increasingly competitive region, Canada holds unique geographic leverage. It controls the gates to energy, trade, and military strategy. This power could quietly make Canada the most influential country in North America without firing a shot.
Canada is a world leader when it comes to critical minerals, and America wants in. Washington has just bought stakes in 2 BC-based critical mineral companies, sending their stocks soaring. The U.S. bought a 10% stake of Trilogy Metals for $35.6 million and a 5% stake in Vancouver-based Lithium Americas. Ottawa had blocked foreign investments in the Canadian critical mineral sector in the case of China, citing national security concerns. But it's not yet known how any potential American stakes will play out.
Another important aspect lies beneath Canada's soil, its vast mineral wealth. Canada has large reserves of lithium, cobalt, nickel, and rare earth minerals, all essential for modern technologies. These minerals are key components for electric car batteries, solar panels, wind turbines, and all sorts of renewable energy technologies. America is working hard to shift to clean energy, but it depends heavily on these minerals. Without reliable access, America's green transition would slow down or stall. Most of these critical minerals are found in Canada's remote far north. These areas are difficult to defend or access. China knows this well and has invested billions in Canadian mining projects. It has bought mineral rights and built infrastructure, making it possible to export these minerals directly to Asia via Arctic shipping lanes. Canada holds a powerful economic arsenal. It does not need America's permission to sell these minerals to any other country, including China. If Canada ever chose to restrict exports or play its cards differently, it could cause a major shock to the U.S. economy and energy supply chains. So, what does all of this mean? The reality is that America's future depends heavily on Canada controlling energy, water, Arctic shipping lanes, and minerals. Despite America's military might and economic size, geography places Canada in a position of real power and influence. Canada could cut off or restrict access to resources essential to America's economy, security, and daily life. America has few options to respond effectively due to the geography and resources involved. Next time you hear someone say, "America protects Canada," remember this: the truth is deeper and more complicated. America depends on Canada in ways most people don't see or understand. Geography doesn't lie. Control of resources decides power. And on this continent, Canada holds the cards that America needs to survive and thrive.